And we're live. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to our Zoom participants. And good afternoon to our FB Live viewers. So, welcome to another e learning session powered by Ariva Academy. This is Irish Malada Samson, your host. And with me, joining me, is my co host and moderator, Mr. Howell V. Mabalot. Hello, sir.
Good evening, Madam President, Irishman on the Samson, and to all our participants from all parts of the world.
Yes. So, moving on, I'd like to acknowledge first our participants from out of the country. So we have participants Sir Howell from Hong
Oh,
Kong, India. We have participants from Malaysia, Nepal, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Tunisia.
exciting. That's really exciting.
Yes, and in order for us to have a smooth flow of the e-learning session, here are the house rules. So what should you do in the webinar for those of you who are first time here? So type in the chat box hi and hello. So let me see. Type in now. Hi and hello. Okay, there you go. And to listen, you will be needing a good quality headsets. We want to know if you can hear us loud and clear. So we have this following codes. Type 111 to show that you can hear us loud and clear. May I see? Okay, loud and clear. So 222 means you can hear us. And 2121 means the sound is breaking up or there's a log. And question mark if you don't understand anything. Okay, so all of them 111. So loud and clear. Moving on, we will be having a short break after the presentation of our guest speaker and before we move on to our question and answer. For the question and answer guidelines, participants' microphones will be temporarily disabled by the administrator during discussion to avoid interruptions. Questions will be entertained after each topic of the session. For questions and clarifications during the provided time after each topic, please click raise button for the administrator to enable the microphone for live questions. Type in your questions at the Q&A box. Again, at the Q&A box, one question at a time will be entertained. For comments and feedback, please scan this QR code. This will be directed to our feedback form. Please send us your comments, ideas, suggestions in order for us to improve our future e-learning sessions. And let's start. To discuss better decision making and understanding the global reactions to COVID-19 using neuroscience. We have invited you as certified neuro coach and Sir Howell, please do the honors of introducing our guest speaker.
Thank you so much, Madam President Michelle Irish Malonda Samson. It definitely is an honor for me to introduce our this person is a person who can bring value into our lives for the next hour or so. Our speaker for today is a US certified professional in both the fields of neuroscience and neuro-linguistic programming or NLP. Over the years, he has spoken in numerous international conferences in London, Bangkok, Tokyo, and in Melbourne. And all of those talks are about the topic neuroscience and its applications. At present, he heads his own management consulting firm, which offers strategic planning and insighting, business and industry analysis, training and organizational development, marketing and branding support, and executive coaching to client companies and individuals. Friends, sit back and prepare to have your lives and minds amplified. And let's all welcome the US certified neuroscience coach, Sir Ben Ampil. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Howell. Thank you very much, Irish.
Thank you so
very
much, sir.
everyone for making the time to join us in this webinar. I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Henry David Thoreau once said, "It is not important what you look at. What's more important is what you see."
I agree. I agree. It's how you
Now,
see it.
what are you looking at right now? If you're watching the webinar, you might be holding your phones. You might be watching a laptop. It's not important what you're looking at. What do you see? Personally, when I was invited to be a part of this auspicious event, I didn't hesitate because I saw empathy, I saw compassion, I saw caring for mankind.
And we thank you for that, sir.
We have all been through the ringer. All of us have been stuck in our houses for the past month. We don't even know what the future holds. So after this seminar, after this webinar, I hope that you will not focus on what you look at, but you will focus on what you see.
We're excited already, sir. So take it away. The platform is yours.
Thank you very much, Howell. So as Howell's mentioned, and as Iris has mentioned, the title of our webinar is The Neuroscience of Decision-Making and Understanding COVID-19 Behavior. All of us have been glued to the news and even social media, and we have been inundated 24/7 by just negativity. If we are to continue on that path, we would be nervous wrecks before the ECQ is lifted. I have to make a disqualifier. This decision-making topic is not about problem-solving and decision-making, although we will be touching on that. First of all, I'd like to start with a poll. How do you feel? What emotions would best describe and summarize how you have felt in the past ECQ period? Please type in your answers now. I see people saying happy. I see people saying sad. And I see people saying neutral. My answer to you is this. I feel like I need to get a haircut because the reality is I cannot do it on my own. But the bottom line is we all have our own pains to bear with. People are despaired. We all know somebody who knows somebody who was affected directly by COVID. The cardiologist of my beloved mother passed away because of COVID. That's as close as COVID can be for my family. So in as much as I don't know him personally, he's the person who keeps my beloved mother alive. And he gave his life up because of being a frontliner for COVID. So despair, stress, and sadness is clearly there. But I have good news for everybody. Do you realize that you have survived 100% of all of your worst days? So March 12 was when the ECQ was imposed. You have survived 100% of all of your bad days. And if history will be guided, you will survive continuing on. There's a saying that says, old ways don't open new doors. The things that we planned for moving into 2020 when we were making our strategic plans in 2019 did not carry COVID-19. Everybody was looking forward for great business plans, great opportunities, innovations. Clearly, those old ways now will not open new doors. But I have news for you. Historically, a pandemic like COVID is not the first time to happen in mankind. Back in the 1840s in Vienna, there was this disease called childbed fever. What happens was mothers giving birth fell ill, and after giving birth, they would die. What a sad thing to happen. You just gave birth, one of the most joyful experiences in a mother's life, and you would die. And there was a Hungarian physician named Ignaz Semmelweis who sought out to find out what was going on. In Vienna General Hospital, that was a school hospital. They taught upcoming medical students how to be graduated students. Apparently, there were two wards that were catering to childbearing. The first ward was attended fully by male physicians. These are licensed physicians and they're male student doctors. The second ward was handled by female midwives. Now, midwives, as you know, are capable in basic safety, but they are not licensed medical doctors. So he went about to pursue hypothesis, and he wanted to find out what was causing the high mortality rate among childbearing women. His first guess was, did the position of the mothers as they gave birth have any bearing on the death? Were people inclined to the left? Were people lying on their back? And apparently not, because there was commonality in Ward A and Ward B. His second theory was, did the mothers experience embarrassment from being examined by male patients and male doctors? And apparently the answer was also no. So Dr. Semmelweis was perplexed. How come 98% of the people, the mothers bearing children, were dying immediately after childbirth? And then were in the morgue. They were busy analyzing and studying autopsies, cadavers, and washing hands was not involved in the perfect theory. And coincidentally, right now, all of us are very well versed in hand washing. 20 seconds, saying happy birthday. Again, old ways. The ways they thought before that washing hands was not important would not open new doors. It was only until they realized that they had to change their mindset that they were able to cure the high mortality rate of childbearing women dying, and things normalized back then. Now we have a webinar, and I've been speaking to my friends globally. Webinar is the thing involved right now. Everybody and their uncle does it. But there's something about e-learning. When you do communication via this mode, you lose 20% of your energy right off the bat. That's why if you notice, theatrical actors exaggerate their actions, exaggerate their diction, exaggerate their movements. That is the challenge presented to us by a webinar platform. So in order to make things easy for you, you will remember this 60-minute webinar by just focusing on three things. Just three things. And mind you, we're talking about neuroscience. The first thing is that just remember Batman. So if you're beside your child right now, you would be screaming, Mommy, Mommy, remember Batman. The second one is remember Kentucky Fried Chicken. And right now we are all home-based and we are reliant on food deliveries. This might be our favorite food right now. And lastly, remember Spark. So just three things. Remember Batman, remember KFC, remember Scarf, and this entire neuroscience webinar you will remember tomorrow and 6 months from now. And memory, there's a hack. You have to associate all of the elements into a moving picture. So imagine Batman walking toward the KFC store, ordering a bucket of chicken, and then the cashier attending to him wraps around his neck a scarf. Again, imagine Batman walking into a KFC store, ordering a bucket of chicken, and then the cashier attending to him wrapping around his neck a scarf. Just three things: neuroscience, decision making, being able to understand the global reactions to COVID 19 all boils down to everybody, Batman, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and
And
Scarf.
scarf.
Imagine Batman going to the store, a KFC store, ordering a bucket of chicken, and then the cashier attending to him wraps a scarf around him. Batman. Neuroscience sounds very daunting. I wouldn't even use it in Scrabble. But neuroscience can easily be understood by just thinking of Batman. Neuroscience is the study of the brain, and how the brain acts, and how the brain thinks. In order for you to be able to manage your thoughts and actions. Again, neuroscience is just Batman. So if somebody talks to you tomorrow, I've been encountering in Google and in online sites, neuroscience, what is it all about? You say, Batman. B, it's a study of the brain. And A, how your brain acts and how your brain thinks, so that you and I would be able to manage our thoughts and actions. Do you realize that your brain defines who you are? Your actions define your character. Your thoughts form your habits. Our brains are very powerful, just like Batman, yet we do not know how to manage it. So again, neuroscience is just Batman. It is the study of B, the brain, how the brain acts, A, how the brain thinks, so that we would be able to manage our actions and thoughts and therefore lead better lives. Next is KFC. Neuroscience is again connected to KFC. And KFC is actually a coaching template. Mental wellness is a growing pandemic. Research have been coming out every day in the news that when the post-COVID era comes, mental wellness will be the next challenge. Everybody has been through the rigor and stress on a prolonged time as they beset us. So what is KFC? K, you must know your desired outcome. What is your plan when you wake up in the morning? Do you have a plan? Is it wake up, make coffee, dress up, work, play with the dog, go back to sleep, repeat? If that is your routine, I feel sad for you because the ECQ will come and pass and you would not have gained anything from it. You must be purposeful, you must be intentional. K, know your desired outcome. And F, get feedback. Are you moving closer toward your desired outcome? I want to make a distinction. What is the difference between a goal and an outcome? A goal is an activity. An outcome is a result. Most of us are obsessed with goals. Be obsessed instead with outcomes. Those are end results. So rather than I will go to the gym and stay on the treadmill, I will lose weight. Losing weight is all encompassing. It's not limited to the treadmill. You can eat a more nutritious diet and you can do other things. So be outcome oriented. So again, K, know your desired outcome. F, get feedback. Are you moving closer toward your desired outcome? And C, not change what you're doing. Do anything but do something. The main problem with people is they just don't do anything. Nothing's working, so they just stay on status quo. No, do anything but do something. And then that new something that you're doing, get feedback. If it's not bringing you closer to your outcome, change. Again, do anything but do something. Get results. So KFC, neuroscience is intentional. Neuroscience is purposeful. We're not studying about the brain just so that we will have stock knowledge. We're studying about the brain so that you will be empowered to live your best lives. And lastly, SCARF, our brains program for survival. I repeat, my brain, your brain is programmed for survival. It's not programmed to make us happy. It's not programmed to make us peaceful. It is programmed to keep us alive. And this was born from the evolution from the cavemen. They had no food. They had to invent fire. They had no Netflix. They just wanted to stay alive. So our brains is self-preserving. It is designed to keep us alive. And there are things that trigger threats. Our brains are always on the lookout. It's like on a radar. It's looking, is this a threat? Is this a threat? And if a threat is deemed, even though it's not a real threat, then your brain starts on reaction mode, on defensive mode. You have heard of the 3 Fs. Your brain freezes, your brain flights, or your brain fights. So we need to know what are the 5 dimensions that trigger these response reactions. S is status. Are you challenging someone's status? We are now often on online conferences. The way we speak, even though we speak the same language, may be lost in translation because of technology. If I say to Howell, do you know what you're doing? It is a very innocent question. Yet to Howell, he might think I am challenging his status. And from where he's sitting, his brain will go, threat, and I will go into freeze, flight, or fight. Next is certainty. Our brain craves for certainty. Is anything certain right now? Do you know what will happen tomorrow? Because of uncertainty, we are all under stress. So for example, you're selling, sales must go on, life must go on. If you're selling a product to a client via online conferencing, and then your client says, we are under quarantine, what guarantee do I have that you would be able to deliver on your promises? Give something that is certain. I assure you, sir, we have had long history of partnership. We have a very good logistic support. Push comes to shove, I will be the one to deliver it to you myself. Give him certainty. Other people might say, I don't know. Certainty will evoke that you don't know what's happening and it will make your brain defensive. Next is autonomy. Autonomy is you want to be able to give people the power to decide for themselves. So micromanaging, which is a practice back then in the before work from home status, micromanaging actually questions the integrity of your survival mechanism. Therefore, you become defensive. It is not productive. And next is relatedness, social distancing. Our brain is a social creature. We crave connections. That's why when we're forced not to be able to connect, we become stressed. What is the application? Whenever you do online conferences, make sure all the necessary people are involved. Often because we don't see them, we inadvertently leave them out. Next is fairness. Make sure that what you're doing is fair. Otherwise, if you yourself are treated unfairly, then your brain, which is programmed for survival, will think that there's something that will happen to your welfare. And then you will again respond with freezing, flighting, or fighting. So neuroscience is SCARF. Just remember that. We'll go through it again. So it's that easy. Mommy, if your son would ask you what's neuroscience, it's Batman. It's B, the study of the brain and how it A thinks, and A, how it acts, C, how it thinks, so that you can manage your brain, your actions and thoughts. KFC is a coaching mechanism which allows your brain to be intentional. K, know your desired outcome. Your desired outcome. Do not be pushed by the outcomes of your neighbor. That's their problem. What is your desired outcome? Know your desired outcome. F, get feedback. Are you getting closer toward the desired outcome? And then C, if you're not getting closer, change your actions. Do anything but do something and then repeat, get feedback if you're actually going closer toward your desired actions. SCARF, these are the 5 dimensions that trigger your brain, which is designed for survival, to act violently, defensively. We all know that if you are interacting with somebody who's guarded, then your chances for success diminishes significantly. So make sure that you do not challenge, you do not poke. SCARF. S is status, C is certainty, A is autonomy, R is relatedness, F is fairness. You remember these things? Batman going to a KFC store, ordering a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the cashier wrapping a scarf around him. That is the essence of neuroscience. We will discuss decision making, how the brain makes decisions, and we will also discuss, have you ever wondered the weird actions of the world leaders at that regarding a very critical issue such as a pandemic? It is all because of mental biases. So again, pandemics are not the first time that happened. Now imagine that the pandemic happened and we are stuck in the jungle. We are stuck with animals and it's us. Who do you think will survive? We're not the strongest. The elephant might be stronger than us. We're not the fastest. The cheetah can run faster than us. We're not the tallest. The giraffe is taller than us. We cannot swim fast. We cannot counteract ourselves. We cannot fly. Yet historically, you remember mighty creatures. They're called dinosaurs. And yet they are extinct. We will survive by virtue of our brains. Our brains are the most important organ we have because it determines our bodily functions, our reasoning activity, and our emotions. Our brains are better than the other features. The prefrontal, the one that looks like a curved finger, prefrontal cortex, this is the one that is responsible for creative thinking. We have the biggest prefrontal cortex by volume. Our PFC, prefrontal cortex, occupies 30% of our entire brain. The closest, everybody take a guess, the chimpanzee. The chimpanzee's prefrontal cortex occupies by volume 17%. So you know how come they behave akin to the behavior of human beings. The prefrontal cortex, the one in front of our brain, determines our creativity, our logic, our reasoning. Now, why do we act irrationally? Because we have another part called the emotional brain, which acts instantaneously, and it is just looking out not for reason, but in ways to protect you against threats. If you had a car, such as the one you see right now, and you want to improve it, would you give it a paint job or would you change its engine? I actually gave this talk in Bangkok. I was invited to keynote a conference on beauticians, the people who do cosmetic surgery. I spoke about the neuroscience of beauty. I spoke about the neuroscience of beauty. What's the world up to now? And I said, if you had a car such as you see now, and you want to improve it, you want to make it function like a car, would you give it a paint job, such as cosmetic surgery, or would you improve its engine? You and I know the answer is we should improve its engine. Guess what? Our brain is our engine. It is not our face. We can actually make ourselves younger than we are, but we will not act any better because our face does not fit. So again, Batman, the study of the brain and how it acts and thinks so that you and I would be able to manage our actions and thoughts. Wine, just to give you, neuroscience seems so far-fetched, but it's actually been around for over a century. It's just that technology in the last 5 years has enabled us to learn more about the brain than we have had in the entire history of mankind. How do you make wine? Wine is a very artistic but scientific method. I will show a clip that will show you how neuroscience is now being used to make the finest wines. Now, the owner of that wine brand is a connoisseur. He's the third generation. He spent all of his life understanding the nuances of winemaking. He knows it by art. And somebody said, introduce science to it. fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. We know this. We are when you go to the hospital, they do it. But what it does is it measures the oxygen and the blood flow in your brain. So, for example, you drink something and it lights up the pleasure area, then the blood and the oxygen will go to that area, and you would be able to know. If you ask somebody qualitatively via a handwritten question, do you like it? They would put something, but they don't have the benefit of the people know in real time how your brain's behaving. You also saw eye tracking devices. This is very important in branding. You will know, the brand people will know where the consumers are looking at, what they like, what they don't like. You also saw biometrics. They will take your pulse, your temperature, your heartbeat, the way you breathe. So this is all complete science. You cannot defeat and you cannot challenge the reactions of your body. I have another news for you. Do you know that the pain area that is associated with social rejection, yung mga na-break dyan, those who are suffering a breakup, and the pain area associated with physical pain are the same. I repeat, the brain area which reacts to social pain, heartbreaks, being ostracized, being left out, being lonely, is the very same pain area that lights up when you have physical pain. So if you are counseling somebody who is just going through a breakup, you know the best way and an easy way that you can help them? Tell them to take paracetamol. I kid you not. Because if you are suffering a social discomfort, you realize that your chest tightens, your shoulder is stressed, your nape is also painful, because the very same area which affects the physical pain is also the same area that is affecting the social pain. Without neuroscience, we wouldn't have known this. Again, I said, in the past 5 years, we have learned more about the brain than we have had in the past entire history of man because of technology. I have a secret to tell you. 95% of the decisions you make are subconscious. I repeat, 95% of all the decisions you make are subconscious. Wherever you are, I ask you, how does your chair feel? And you go, feels okay, but do you realize that until I pointed it out to you and brought it to consciousness, you were just sitting on that chair, you had a sensation about it, but you were not aware of it. You were not conscious of it. 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously. Everybody work with me. Howell, I'll use you as you're the only one I see, but everybody else in the global space, please cross your arms.
Yes.
Howell, if I can request
Yes.
you close your arms. Now, I'll be speaking Howell because I have him on screen. Everybody else, cross your arms. Howell,
Cross your arms.
are your arms left over right or right over left?
My arms, it's left over right.
Now, was that a conscious decision? Was there any
It's not. I automatically
Exactly.
do this.
Right. We cannot remember a time in our lives from birth, and then we said,
From
at this
birth.
point, whenever I am told to cross my arms, it will be left over right. How well are you, right-handed or left-handed?
I am right-handed.
Right. So as you can see, this has no correlation between right-handedness and right over left. Now,
Oh, okay.
Howell, you look like an intelligent person. Actually, people, I know Howell, we come from the same industry. Management consultants and speakers don't come any better than Mr. Howell himself.
Naku naman, salamat po.
So please do send him a thank you message when this webinar ends. Howell, you are very intelligent. You are right now crossing your arms left over right. Can you do it reverse?
Yes. It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Now you and I would know that left over right, right over left, it is easy. How come we're having a difficult time? And guys, I don't know you. I know something about you. The way you wear your shirt, it's the same. Either you put your right hand first, left hand. The way you wear your pants, the way you tie your shoes are all governed by that program. And there was nowhere in your entire lifetime, lifeline of your history, that you said, I will do this. It is subconscious. So if something as small and trivial as crossing your arms is actually governed by subconsciousness, imagine the bigger things.
Wow.
It's because of, we can think of an iceberg. An iceberg, we can say only 10% is seen, visible, conscious, and 90% is submerged. We don't see it, but we know it's there, subconscious. Do you know that our conscious brain can take 40 bits? These are similar to computer units, bits and bytes. 40 bits per second. Our subconscious brain can take 40 million bits.
Wow.
40 million bits per second.
Million bits.
What are we to do? What are we to do? Our brain is overwhelmed. Our brain is assaulted by so much sensory information. I would tell you now, wherever you are, friends, there are a lot of smells going on. Either there's air freshener, either if you're watching this with friends, you can smell the scent of somebody. If someone's cooking in the nearby kitchen, you can smell that. But do you know that you are not conscious of them? You're only conscious of the smell that you're prioritizing right now. The same with your gustatory, eating, olfactory, smelling, and all the other senses. You are assaulted with 40 million bits of information, yet your mind, your brain, cannot handle it. Our brain occupies 2% of our total body weight. So if you're a typical person, it might weigh 3 pounds. 2% of your entire body weight, yet it consumes 20% of all of your caloric intake.
Wow.
The brain is a gas guzzler. It is not an energy efficient organ. It only weighs so little, but it takes 20% of your entire caloric intake. And your brain's processing capability is not limitless. It's not like your computer that you can run the whole day through. It can only run for about 2-3 hours optimally per day. The question is, are you running them on activities that deserve optimal processing power? What do you normally do when you enter the office? Back in the work in the office, before the ECQ, you would sit down, boot your computer, and check your emails. You're actually using primary computing power to do a very rudimentary job of checking your emails. Also, prior to neuroscience, they thought that the brain is hardwired. What does that mean? They thought that the brain that you were born with doesn't change, and it's the brain that you will die with. Because of technology, they found out that our brain is actually softwired. It is like modeling clay.
Wow.
They had a patient that lost half his brain from an accident. He was still kept alive, but the brain that was responsible for hand movement was destroyed. What they did was they trained the remaining half of the brain, which is not capable of hand movement, to learn the skill.
Wow.
Now is ambidextrous. So your brain is softwired. You can change. Your brain yesterday can be a different brain tomorrow. It is up to you. It is a concept referred to as neuroplasticity. You can erase and you can draw. You can craft your brain. And do you know what are the primary elements of neuroplasticity? Batman. Brain, actions, and thoughts. If you keep on thinking of an action often enough, your brain gets wired. If you keep on thinking of a thought often enough, your brain gets wired. Let's be saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend your time around with. There's truth to that with neuroplasticity. Because if you just spend time with people who are always writing about negativity, that thought process keeps on going to your brain. Imagine trying to, back in the day, you would sharpen a paper clip using a magnet. You would keep on scratching it, and because of that frequency of scratching, the magnet would get the magnetism, that the paper clip would get the magnetism of the magnet. It's similar here. So be careful about what you think of, be careful about what you do. What are we spending our time right now with? We're watching the news 24 by 7, and there's no good news. What is that doing to your brain? So my tip to you as your friend, stop watching the news for 2 days. If they find a vaccine tomorrow, you will find out about it because your friends will start telling you. Just turn off the TV, listen to good music, watch a funny film. But the more you keep on doing the same thing, the more your brain will get molded to it. The good news is if you keep on doing a good thing, if you're practicing gratitude, if every morning you say good morning to somebody, you extend the heart of kindness, you're grateful, your brain becomes wired for that. Neuroplasticity. Your brain can change, therefore you can change. There's no such thing as a helpless and a hopeless person. Time magazine said that Einstein is the person of the century. He had one very famous formula, which we all know to be E is equal to MC squared. Now, this is actually a good mnemonic for how we can imbibe neuroscience behaviors. E is for emotions. Our brain can only do 6 things. Our 5 emotions and self-talk. I repeat, our brain can only do 6 things. Our 5 emotions, that is vision, seeing, auditory, hearing, kinesthetic, touching, and then olfactory, smelling, gustatory, eating. 5 senses, and the last is self-talk. You have 5 senses which are facts. You cannot change them. Your self-talk is the one that is used to assign meaning to them. That's why Howard and I can have the same 5 senses of equality. But my self-talk and his self-talk, the meaning we assign to them may be different. And that creates emotions. Now, your emotions would not become hard. They become memories. Emotions are the ones that are created by 5 senses and your self-talk. You can choose your emotions. Just because somebody did not greet you doesn't mean you have to feel slighted. Just because somebody slapped you doesn't mean you have to feel offended. It is contra-logical, but it's not impossible. Your emotions now creates memories. Imagine that you went to a fast food store and the cashier treated you poorly. What memory will you have? You will be averse to going back to that. And what does that do? It creates character choices. So again, we have only 6 things we can do with our brain. 5 senses, self-talk. Self-talk is the meaning we ascribe the 5 senses. Your emotions create memories. Memories are the basis for our decisions. How well any decision you make is based on a memory. For example, you had a bad experience with mobile brand X, and then somebody asks you, would you recommend that? Because of your memory, you would say no. That's your character choice. And the more your emotions repeating themselves, neuroplasticity, the harder your memories will be, the stronger your character choices will become. This is a typewriter. Howell and I didn't reach this. Only our parents. The funny part about this is that unlike the modern word processors now, it is limited in font choices. Now, if you were to write a job application, and this is true because I do career coaching, guys, if you were to write a digital job application, these are the fonts that are highly recommended by HR practitioners. Serif and sans serif. Those who are taking pictures of this, we know what their next moves will be. Now, what if you have 2 candidates who are equally talented, except the second candidate sent your resume using the following fonts, perhaps Ravi. Now, remember, your emotion will say, this guy is not taking this job application seriously. it might bring you to a memory of taking another person, making a poor recruitment choice, and having to pay for it because he's now a regular and you have to carry him through. So because of emotions, which created a memory, your character decision is reject. It's similar to this when you go to a Chinese restaurant. All of the tea came from the same teapot, yet we would be happier drinking the one with a more ornate and elegant cup of tea. Experience is subjective. Now, how do we sell alcohol in the Philippines? How well, you don't have to answer, but I can read it. What do they give the alcohol manufacturers in order to promote alcohol in the Philippines? They give calendars.
Sure.
Watch how Budweiser, following E=mc² emotions, create memories, which create character choices. Watch what Budweiser does. There's no audio, but you can get the story from watching.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And I would walk 500 more just to be with 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Wow.
So it's like you were so emotional that you had to grab on something like this giraffe. They had there was no audio, but you can tell the story. The dog got lost. He jumped into the horse carriage and he got lost. And the owner was so perturbed. He did everything he could to retrieve the dog. And when he found it, his life was again complete. The only similarity that commercial has with local commercials, and I am a very apolitical person, they both had horses. Except in our commercials, guess what they wear when they ride the horses. So you can Budweiser selling beer capitalized on an emotion, affinity, love, commitment, odor, and now that brings a memory. And what kind of choice would you get? Character choices. What kind of beer will you buy? Budweiser. And that's how we do neuromarketing these days. It's memorable. We don't want to create robotic movements. Memories, emotions are personal. It's up to you. That's where the self-talk comes in. Now we go to a brain. This is very, very quick. This is not a medical school. There are only two parts of the brain that we will be discussing. If you close your fist, you can see something that looks like the brain. So that is the prefrontal cortex, the one in front of your brain. Now, if you open your hand, this is just an illustration, just a fact, and you put your thumb inside and you close it, that is the reactive brain. So the amygdala is inside your thumb. You close it, that is the prefrontal cortex. Those are the two dominant parts of the brain that actually is involved with decision making, with biases, and with our behavior. This is the way we analyze them. The amygdala, the thumb, which is inside, it's emotional. It happens very quickly because it is designed to keep you safe. It's always on the lookout for threats. Howell, have you ever wondered about the viral videos of a surgeon who was caught in a road rage and he started?
Oh yeah.
No names.
No names, but I believe that doctor has, compromised his license.
And then there's also this prosecutor.
Yes.
Who wanted 5 minutes. Now,
highly educated and yet behaving badly.
Exactly. Prefrontal cortex is analytical. Surgeon, prosecutor. And yet, when they perceive danger, they perceive that they were being threatened. They became emotional. And what happened? They froze. They were flight or fight. They chose to fight. Now the prefrontal cortex is analytical. It is the one that makes us think. It is the one that gives us the reason. The problem is this: the amygdala reacts instinctively. You have heard your mother says, if you're angry, count to 10. That has neuroscience basis because your amygdala has a 10-second lead time. And it's a 10-second that's long, 1001, 1002. So your amygdala has a 10-second lead time before your prefrontal cortex kicks in.
Could process and analyze
So
things.
imagine you were the prosecutor and you were angry because apparently, according to the story, the guy threw something at his car.
And that's his version of truth.
Yes. And then he started counting 1001, 1002, then he says it will be covered by insurance, perhaps the guy is rushing. No, this is a joke. I had a friend who ticked me off, so I was angry. And he knew I was a neuroscience coach. I was counting. Then he started to make peace. And I go, stop. I'm still at number 7. Finish to 10. Then we can talk. So the amygdala, the thumb that is covered, it's hidden. It's actually between your ears. It is instinctive. It reacts to stress. It is designed to worry. That's why, Howell, if you worry, it's not your fault. It is your default.
It's your default.
Worrying is not our fault. It is our default. What can we do? 6
I like that.
5 senses, self-talk. Make your self-talk depend on the prefrontal cortex, which is analytical. So the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, if it perceives a threat, real or imagined, it goes into fight mode. So amygdala, if it sees a cobra, it will not stop and do a SWOT analysis. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? It will just go into reactive mode. Howell, 17 times 24.
So that's the time you will get your calculator.
That is prefrontal cortex because now it requires analysis and creative thinking and patience. So we see that our brains, even though they're connected, they have their own characteristics. The amygdala, the one that is reactive instinctively, the emotional brain, has more impact on your decisions than your logical brain. I repeat, your emotional brain has more impact on your decisions than your thinking brain. Now that you're aware of it, you can now say, amygdala, I will count to 10. Buy yourself, now with the wearables, with the cell phones, buy a countdown timer. And then you say, 10 now, I'm still angry at you, get out of my life. But the point is, you now know that you're no longer at the mercy of your genetic programming. Our brain is programmed to make us survive. There's nothing wrong with that, except survival. It does not distinguish between a real threat and an imagined threat. So again, Batman, KFC, and Scarf. We said that KFC is being intentional. We must all know our desired outcomes. We must get feedback. Iba naman is you have a desired outcome, but you keep on doing it with you're oblivious to the feedback, whether you're reaching it or not. And then if you're not getting the results, change your action. Friends, do anything but do something. People are stuck with doing nothing. Do anything but do something and then get feedback again.
Yes.
And if you're doing something, it's not making you reach your desired outcome, then do anything but do something. So we want to get results. This social distancing is bad for the brain because the brain is a social feature. Do not take social distancing to the wild extent and go to the moon. Oh, well, that's a joke.
You know what? But yeah.
Okay. So just remember 3 things again about the webinar, friends. Batman, neuroscience is B, the study of the brain. That A, about how it acts, and T, things so you can manage your actions and behaviors. KFC is K, know your outcome. F, get feedback. C, change your action if you're not getting your desired outcome. Scarf, these are the triggers that make the amygdala the incredible Hulk. that if you do influence your friends, and I will use Howell again as an example.
Keep using me as an example, Coach.
So S is status. If I challenge the status of Howell, Howell, ang pangit naman ng your suit looks old. Can't you afford anything better? Then his status is challenged. Certainly, Howell, I don't know when I could engage your services again. Hey, autonomy. Howell, I have a project for you, but I will make all the decisions. Relatedness. Howell, I'm throwing a big party. I'm inviting everybody. I'll tell you all about it when it's done, meaning you're not invited. Fairness. Howell, I will treat everybody kindly except you. So if you touch on the scarf, you will trigger the amygdala, be a raging buck. And we know that that will make you viral, and you don't want that to happen.
I don't want that to happen.
So again, status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, fairness. Now, friends, you might be wondering how come I have this fingertip knowledge. I live and breathe neuroscience. Ask my wife. Whenever we have a disagreement, she says, "Wag mo akong neuroscience." So again, it's because our conscious brain can only take 40 bits. The conscious brain can take 40 million bits. And our prefrontal cortex, as we mentioned, the processing power is limited. What does it do? It responds to biases. Now, what's a bias? A bias is just a systematic pattern of deviation from otherwise resourced rational judgment. It is your brain's way of taking shortcuts. 40 million bits of information. I don't have the time, nor the patience, nor the energy. I'm going to take shortcuts. I'm going to go direct to the point. Those are biases. And these are examples of biases. There are actually 150 biases known, identified by behavioral psychiatrists. McKinsey and Company, the #1 consulting firm in the world, when they onboard you, they subject you to a debiasing seminar because they are tasked with making plans and solutions for their clients. They cannot afford that their associates are biased. So they force their associates to undergo a year-long debiasing seminar. Now, let's have some examples about COVID-19. Some biases, bandwagon effect, we're familiar with this. We socially conform and follow the crowd. What's an example? Hoarding. Why don't you hoard during non-COVID days? Because you don't see people hoarding. What's photograph in the news wherein they seem to be having a fiesta? They were not following social distancing, no mask. So when people comply, you would tend to comply. When people do not comply, you would tend to follow suit. So bandwagon effect is a reason why many of the illogical decisions are being followed because we follow the herd mentality. Another one is anchoring bias. Anchoring is we focus on the initial information we receive and we're slow to react when new information comes. Example, COVID or coronavirus was discovered middle of December last year in Wuhan. Alam na natin, it was all over the news. Yet anchoring biases, it is just in China. They locked down Wuhan. It's not as dangerous as it is. That's why the decision to order PPEs and ventilators were made belatedly. And these are crucial elements to keep COVID critical patients alive. Next is confirmation bias. And again, these are just some biases out of the 150 biases that are around. We search and pay more attention to information that would support our views. We want something that confirms our views. So, for example, how will have you
if I may interrupt you for a while, can you come closer to the laptop, sir? Because some of our viewers can hardly hear you po.
All right, sige. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
In closing, I'm kidding.
Ayan, malinaw na po.
All right, got it. So, confirmation bias. Oh, well, have you heard of the news about if you eat bananas, you would get the flu?
And everybody hoarded bananas.
Right.
And it created artificial shortage.
And then also, if you gargle your mouth with seawater.
Yeah. And those are
No,
fake news.
right. No, but again, they may be fake news, but if it confirms what you want to believe.
Okay, so it's all about the belief system.
So the solution is go to a source that's reliable, like the CDC Center for Disease Control or Dr. Fauci, the one we see in the internet and CNN at the time.
Yes.
Another one is exponential growth bias. Now, life goes on linearly. We walk in straight lines. We don't walk in hyperbolic. We're not superheroes. Exponential growth bias says we tend to refuse to understand any behavior that does not proceed linearly.
Okay.
That's why we couldn't understand how come social distancing is important. Not that the curve is an exponential mathematical model. And it only took us when deaths were already rising, reaching the peak, for us to embrace it. Now everybody knows that the curve, social distancing is not something that proceeds linearly. It's not one infects one, infects one. Then we discarded it. Then another one is self-attribution bias. We overly ascribe success because of our own efforts and failure for efforts of others. I am apolitical. Which president canceled his country's funding for the World Health Organization? I am apolitical. I will not answer that.
We know the answer, but we will refuse to say that.
And this is the reason behind that. He attributes success. In fact, if you go to the news clips, he says he handled it perfectly well. And all other failures are attributed to everybody else except him.
Oo nga.
And then zero-based bias is completely eliminating a minor threat rather than minimizing the risk of a major threat. Assuming you have 10 threats, now you want to you can eliminate threat A completely, but you cannot eliminate threats 2 to 10 completely. You would rather eliminate threat A completely and just bahala na si Batman with threats 2 to 10, even if they represent life and death. Howell, what is an example? Toilet paper.
Yeah.
When you buy
but not in the Philippines.
Not in the Philippines because we use bidets. Right? But the point is this. People think that if they buy toilet paper, they can minimize the risk of whatever germs attributable to that. But they wouldn't follow the protocols for preventing COVID-19. Why? You cannot zero it out. If you wash your hands or practice social distancing, you can still get COVID-19. So zero-based bias says, the brain says, I'd rather be sure. I'm going to stock up sanitizers, toilet paper, whatever, Pringles, and then all the rest, which represent even bigger risk, I will not pay attention to. So another one is neglect of probability bias. We underestimate that something will happen, and when it does, its negative effects we deem to be manageable. Why is it that COVID happened in China third week of December 2019? Countries took a long time to institute lockdowns. Even in the States, where Dr. Fauci, the lead, and if you're watching CNN,
yes, CNN, yes.
Lockdown is the solution in order to mitigate the spread of COVID. There are four states that have not yet instituted lockdowns. Neglect of probability. They think everybody else will get it except us. So in closing, assuming you have a mental block, we've talked about the brain.
Yes.
The brain is composed of many areas. Your vision area is different from your sound area. If right now you're working from home and you have a mental block, the solution is eye movement integrator. We mentioned earlier that the brain is a vision organ. It's not a word processor. Whenever you force your eyes to look at other places, your brain follows suit. So this is what you do.
Oh. What will it do, Coach?
And this is real, no? So take your finger and follow it.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend do it for about 5 cycles. Anything more than that, you puke. What it does, it forces your brain to access the visual sense, and then the kinesthetic sense, and then
Oh,
auditory sense. So you become multisensory.
wow.
As opposed to if you're just using your visual sense, you're a graphic artist, and you're lacking creativity, doing the eye movement integration will involve the other senses, which will make your brain more productive.
So,
Now,
coach, this is good for exam before you take your exam or before you do your thesis, or
yes, if you want to maximize the computing power of your brain, to use all of the cores. In
mm-hmm.
terms of Intel, now we're in the 10th generation, 9-core CPU.
Mm-hmm.
Before it used to be core duo, so you want to maximize all of the batteries. And and remember, we only have 6 things: our 5 senses and self-talk. Self-talk is not a battery; it's a behavioral choice.
Mm-hmm.
You want to involve all the senses. So in the eye movement, these are possibilities with your eyes.
So, coach, how many times shall we be doing this in a day? Or shall
Um,
we be doing that only when you're experiencing mental block?
I actually have a whole toolbox of things that will rev up my brain. Sometimes I get bored doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are lacking motivation, right now, for example, sun is already a rare commodity. We're stuck indoors.
Mm-hmm.
So sun is also good for the brain. We'll leave it for the Q&A, but the point I
Yes.
wanted to say is in the possibilities if you use your mind. Your mind determines who you are, what you do, how you behave. And yet most of us know more about how our phones work than how our brains work. Our brain is the CPU or mental computer. Yet we're focused on the keyboard, on the screen, on the mouse. Doesn't matter. You can have the fanciest mouse on earth, but everything you do, all the processing will be done by your brain. So again, Scarf, if you challenge all of these dimensions in another person, that will trigger that person's reactive brain, and he will act in a way that's defensive, which is not beneficial for your interaction.
I agree.
That's why it's best that you are aware. Sometimes one person has a dominant scarf. For example, I know somebody that's very status oriented, doesn't care for the other.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you meet that person, just focus on status.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're doing Google Howell and you type in problems in my life, guess what will come out? Problems in my life. But then if you type in, for example, things I can be thankful for, guess what will come out?
That's what you'll find.
Now, guess who are typing the words? You and I. And yet we blame COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
No, despite COVID-19, there are things we can be thankful for. I'm not saying that we go kumbaya group hug, no. But I'm saying you have 5 senses and self-talk. Why would you want to ruin your day by just focusing on problems when you are the one encoding the search words?
So, coach, this is not, if I understand you correctly, this is not about COVID-19 at all.
It's all encompassing. Beyond COVID-19, COVID-19 is just a good microcosm because it's global, it's very intense, and it's 24/7. But basically, we're saying self-talk is your key. You control it. Carlos Castañeda, an author, once said, the trick is what one emphasizes. We either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same.
Same.
Yet some people choose misery over strength. I would understand if misery was easier to do, but the amount of work is the same. And remember, if you keep on thinking the same thoughts, neuroplasticity, your brain becomes hardened along that thought formula. You don't have to take goodness pills. You just have to think of resourceful thoughts and put it onto your brain. This sounds like kumbaya, build me up, buttercup. These are all backed up by medical science. Remember Iron Man earlier? Now Iron Man was not Iron Man before. Before Robert Downey Jr. got the role of Iron Man, he was down on his luck.
Yes.
He was jailed for drug addiction. The only one who stood by him was his wife. He tried to make a record album. It didn't sell. He was in between jobs. Then he decided, similar to the Google, I will change my life. This is something that he shared publicly in an article. His self-talk is, my five senses say I'm hopeless. My self-talk will say I'm going to make something different. And now he is one of the highest paid and respected actors in Hollywood. Our brain craves certainty. That's why in this period of COVID-19, when everything is so uncertain, we're so stressed. In fact, mental wellness will be the next pandemic when the COVID era disappears. We are walking a tightrope that is not even straight, and we don't even know where it's going. I want to share something from you, friends, from my heart. As a friend, not as a neuroscience coach. In Psalm it says, the Lord gives victory to his anointed. He answers from his heavenly sanctuary with the victorious power of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God.
Wow.
And I will not belittle the challenges the world and your household are going through. Where are you putting your trust? Are you putting your trust in chariots? Are you putting your trust in horses? Me and my household, we put our trust in the name of the Lord our God.
Beautiful.
Time is limited. The problem is we think we all have time. We don't. We only have one ticket, one life to live. Make it count. And with that, I thank you all for your patience and time.
You know what? You deserve a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Coach Ben Ampil. That was
my pleasure.
A wonderful 1 hour talk. It feels like you have distilled all your life's experiences for the past 20 years and gave us and poured into us these blessings of knowledge that will change us definitely. Wow. And brace yourself.
If I can respond to that, I really acknowledge the initiative of KM, Anne, and Irish. Everybody's webinars, dime a dozen. Everybody's doing it. But to do this and to try to make the life of people who are stuck at home, make it resourceful, make it beneficial, using their own resources, using friends like you and I am all for it. That's why when
thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Sir Coach. Of course, Coach Ben, we're not done yet. And for our participants, those who are with us with Zoom and LinkedIn and Facebook Live, don't leave because we're just done with the first half of this exciting learning event. Because we'll be back for the Q&A. Alam ko, marami dito. In fact, we're being flooded now with with questions. So brace yourself, Coach Ben.
Thank you.
Because we'll be right back for the Q&A. In the meantime, so I'm seeing, thank you, Coach. Clap, clap, clap. I'm seeing how our participants have been appreciating you. Now, so what will happen, Coach Ben and Madam Irish Malonda and all of our participants is that we'll just take a very short break for, water break, sea break, and we need that. But before we even go to our 2 or 3 minute break, we'll have to greet our birthday celebrants. Okay lang po ba? And if some of you are still, at this moment, are still unable to tell us who is celebrating their birthday, let us know about it. For now, here are our birthday celebrants. Ma'am Isabelita Castor, Mel Annie Arubio, and Orti Austria. Happy birthday to all of you!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Okay, now, so we'll now proceed to the next part of the program, which is the 2 to 3 minute break, and we'll welcome you back. Don't go away. We'll definitely be back. We promise.